Welcome to Ballsy Breakdown, Week 2. It was a hectic week. Lots of dynasty risers, fallers, free agent pickups. Let's get into it.
Because I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. Because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. Anywhere I want.
What's up, man? Buddy? How's it going, brother? It's been a couple weeks. You said you were just in Florida, so it's matching the vibes in the background. How's it going?
I'm doing great, better every day. Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's been a while. NFL season is here. We kicked off week 1, and we're already making it into week 2, man. What a fun week 1. We had some games that were okay, but some games that were, legendary. That Bills Ravens game, even the fourth quarter ending to the Monday Night Football game between the Bears and the Vikings was pretty exciting down to the wire at the end there.
I stopped watching. I stopped watching with like 10 minutes left. I was like, okay.
That's how they get you. Man, it was a fun week 1. How was your week 1 looking, my man?
I think overall pretty well. Yeah, definitely. It kind of seems like a lot of times now with kind of a lot of teams not playing in the preseason, week 1 is always pretty messy. And there's a lot of stuff that kind of, doesn't continue on for the rest of the season. So I think that's definitely something we got to talk about is kind of what did we see in week 1 that we think is here to stay, and what are kind of flashes in the pan, things that because every year we see like some random backup guy will just go for 25 points and then he never to be seen again for the rest of the season pretty much. So yeah, I think
no doubt.
any big takeaways for you? I think the big one for me was Harold Fannin. I'll start off there, but yeah, I think pretty crazy usage. Obviously, if they drafted him in the 3rd round, so that's pretty good signal that it's a smart coaching staff. We see them, pretty using analytics and using and just having Kevin Stefanski is just a good offensive coach. So, but the way they used him in the backfield as a fullback, as an H-back in the slot, he even got a wildcat snap. It's pretty crazy, and 21 years old, and to see him get that kind of usage right out of the gate, super, super encouraging. I sent a lot of offers for like Mark Andrews straight up for Harold Fannin today.
Damn.
Like just spamming it, and not a single one got accepted. So
damn. Wow.
And obviously Mark Andrews had a bad week 1, so that's
right.
That kind of goes into it. If Mark Andrews would have scored 2 touchdowns, then maybe it swings the other way. But yeah, man, I think it's a little bit of overreaction on kind of Njoku. Just like I think people are overreacting on Njoku just being dead. I think essentially Harold Fannin is you can kind of view him as a slot receiver. It's Isaiah Bond, who obviously undrafted free agent, would have went higher in the draft if it wasn't for the off the field issues. And Jamari Thrash. So like not crazy competition there for slot snaps. So
practically none.
Yeah, practically none at this point. And so I think they can coexist. Obviously, I think it limits Njoku's ceiling just because a lot of those short area targets are going to be, if there's another guy that can kind of eat into those, that's not the best for Njoku. But I think they're both usable. And I think definitely if Fannin's on your waiver wire, definitely pick him up, especially with some tight end injuries with Bowers possibly being out and Kittle going on IR. That one's rough for sure. But yeah, man, I think he's going up there in the probably top 10 of dynasty tight ends right there, because it's just, it's one of those things where like there's guys where it's like Andrews and Njoku You know, they're a little bit older, and we haven't really seen. I mean, Njoku, right? They're kind of eating into each other, like we just said. Andrews, I still think he's a good bet for the season, just to score touchdowns because it's such a good offense.
Great offense.
It's gonna be a little hit or miss. But yeah, there's a lot of guys kind of on that border, like a Goddard, like a lot of just kind of those like tight end 1-2 border guys where it's like, why not take the upside of the young guy who just was used that much in his first game ever, right? And he had the historic production his senior year. So yeah, I think it's definitely wheels up for Fannin to start us off. But yeah, I'll
looking good. You know, couple of things you said there. We should bring up the data that me and you were talking about it in our Twitter DMs that David shared today. The fantasy points over expected versus the production. Because 2 players you mentioned there, Harold Fannin was, you know, had an incredible week 1 and delivered. And I think he was right in line with his expected points, maybe just below. But Mark Andrews, you know, didn't deliver. He was below his expected fantasy points. Something that we can see in the data there for the tight ends. On the other flip of the spectrum, in the same offense for the Ravens, you had Zay Flowers completely exceeding expectations, and maybe he's on his way to a year 3 breakout. Something that we talked about a lot this summer, that we were kind of predicting for Zay Flowers. Can he step up and be that top target earner in the Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson, the high-powered, super efficient, explosive offense? And it's looking pretty good, but I will say when we looked at the wide receiver data here, you know, obviously Zay Flowers jumps off the page as producing over expectation. I think he was one of the top ones there.
Way over expectation. You know, but I mean, that is encouraging though. Like, right. Like it's obviously some of those were scheme touches. Some of those were screens, but I mean, we've really just been waiting for Zay Flowers. Like we know he's talented. It's just he hasn't really been scoring touchdowns. And he was injured a little bit last year, but he's gonna have these boom games. So wheels up for Zay Flowers for sure. I don't think
like you were saying overreaction. If you tried to make an offer, you know, Harold Fannin and Dynasty straight up for Mark Andrews, and it got denied. If Mark Andrews had the fantasy points over expected in week 1, you know, that Zay Flowers got, it'd be a whole different story, right? And so how much do we weight the new information, the new data that we got from week 1 going forward with what we previously knew? And so do we overreact? Do we underreact? It's hard to know, but, you know, the signal, the noise, I think, especially for the new players, the Harold Fannins, you almost can't overreact enough. You should be overreacting. For the players, we are a known commodity, right? A known production value and what their role is in the offense. A Mark Andrews, you kind of don't kind of extend that projection forward. You say, okay, he's going to bounce back. He'll be fine. He is touchdown dependent somewhat, but he's going to work and have some better weeks in that offense. So I think, but yeah, for these rookies, it's tough too, because then there's guys who maybe didn't have such a great week and we're expecting them to have a better week going forward. So it's like, where do we draw the line between the over expecting the future and then kind of, you know, understanding what is the new reality? So you have players like a Dylan Sampson who crushed. You know, is that the new expectation going forward, or is that a blip in the radar? Hopefully it's the new expectation going forward, but you know, whether it's a rookie or a veteran, a player in a new role, a new team, you know, how much do we read into these signals is kind of the fun part of week 1 that I always love to try to figure out and attack those waiver wires, especially in the redraft leagues. And I'm a guy, I like to spend fab early in the season, and I'd rather be at the end of the season and not have any, or have a few dollars to try to get some things in the later weeks. I'd rather figure it out early, because the earlier you spend your fab, the longer it can pay off. I have Dylan Sampson on my bench, but if he was out there, I'd be spending a bunch of fab to get him so I can use him for the rest of the season. Maybe Quinshon Judkins is slow to start. Maybe they can both, you know, feast in that offense, a really big, strong rushing attack. Maybe Sampson's just efficient, but like if you don't pick up these impact new players right now, the Harold Fannins, the Dylan Sampsons, etc., and you're waiting to save that fab for later, well, you just have one less week to utilize them every week that goes by. So your fab becomes less valuable.
Yeah, something I want to come back to that you said, and it definitely is a really good point. I mean, for Dynasty, for redraft, for everything, but it's the more we've seen of a player, the less we want to overreact on, you know what I mean, 1 or 2 games or a small sample size.
Walker.
But Ken Walker, yeah. And he wasn't practicing in the preseason as much. We know he has a history of soft tissue injuries, so we'll see. It was weird game for sure, but I still think he's more talented. But yeah, I think so. Like a Mark Andrews, like, okay, yes, he's on the older side, but like you said, if he would have scored 2 touchdowns and Zay Flowers didn't score 2 touchdowns, then how are we viewing it differently, right? But when you do see these young guys, Zay Flowers, Egbuka is a huge one, right? Like, look, you see him here, his expectation is huge, but it's also like first ever NFL game, and you do that. That's pretty exciting. You kind of want to be buying high on some of these guys.
Home run.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. One guy I wanted to bring up, and you actually were talking about him earlier in the year, so let me roll this clip first. But we have Keon Coleman here.
But if he can kind of get his things together and find the connection with Josh Allen, I think there's just an ability to maybe consolidate some of those targets in that Bills offense that was so spread out. Maybe some of those touchdowns that were scored on the ground last season convert to some longer touchdowns for a guy like Keon Coleman. Maybe they start to use him in the red zone a little bit more. So I think that's a player that I think has a ton of upside. The upside, man, that guy's smart. Got to listen to that guy sometimes.
Awesome. But yeah,
I
think that's right. That's a perfect example of a guy where he was 21 years old last year, dealt with some injuries, obviously very raw coming out of school, but it's the Bills, right? They're going to be a very good offense. We're going to look later on at some of the projected point totals for some of these teams. The Bills are going to be up there every single week, projecting for 28, 27 points almost every single week, and it has to go to someone.
You want a piece of it.
You definitely want a piece of it. And so, yeah, I want to shout out to my friend David at DSP4150 on Twitter. His note was just Keon Coleman breakout might be legit, aided by huge team volume. It's obviously like, yeah, it was in a negative game script, so they're trying to catch up. But I mean, you still need to be good to be able to capitalize on those targets. And he could have had an even bigger game. He got tackled by a shoestring tackle and almost scored again. So that would have been like a 30 point week or something like that. So yeah, draft the young players, talented players with in high scoring offenses. Football doesn't have to be hard. That's one of the big things that Mathology, friend of the channel, always talks about. He's very concentrated on the offenses that are projected to be good, and it really just, if you obviously you're going to want to take your shots on some of the worse, quote, like lower scoring offenses, because you can still get some league winners from those teams, but generally I would say that's a little bit harder to do. So any other notes here while we have this up, and we can go through kind of the different positions, starting here with wide receivers and going through the rest of them. But any notes here for you, things that stood out?
I think we covered some high points. You know, people have been talking about week 1. I'm excited to look through a little bit more of this data and then jump right ahead to week 2.
Yeah, I think one more note is Olave and Rashid Shaheed, and along with that, Juwan Johnson all had a ton of expected fantasy points. And
oh yeah,
we saw Kellen Moore was showing them tape of the Indiana Pacers pushing the pace there. So, you know, sometimes there are fun bad teams, right? Like yes. That definitely happens. So obviously we're not expecting them to throw that much every single week. I think it was like 45 attempts or something like that, but they are pretty bad. They're going to be down a lot, and hopefully Spencer Rattler at least looked serviceable, which is all you can really ask for. But yeah, maybe we get some fantasy goodness out of this bad real life team. And I think,
on that point, I saw Mathology and Neil were live earlier drafting some teams, some battle royale teams. I think they were actually doing a dog bowl, and they took Kamara. I want to say it was the 3rd round. I'm not super in tune with the dog bowl ADPs at the current moment, but they're all over the place. But they were talking about, and I don't think they did it, but I was listening in. I think they were talking about potentially backstacking Kamara with a last round Spencer Rattler to get both, low ownership, a little bit more unique. And because of, those passing attempts, does Rattler look like a starting caliber quarterback? No, but potentially not. But can he have some spike weeks? Can he put up a ton of volume? Probably he can. And he's been a gunslinger since his days at Oklahoma and then at South Carolina. He's known to throw the ball around. What you said about Shaheed and Olave, their expected fantasy points were far and above their production. So can that regress to, meeting that expected fantasy points? I think so. I actually started Shaheed as my wide receiver 3 in half-point PPR in my home league, where I have Reed, who I didn't start. I have Godwin, who I couldn't start. And I have Mooney, who I couldn't start. And so I'm looking for a wide receiver 3 to fill that spot. At the same time, I'm going to keep Shaheed in that spot locked in because I'm confident going forward that there could be some big plays that come out of this and a touchdown or two. So, like you said, potentially bad offenses or offenses that we're not super excited about preseason that don't have the highest scoring totals, can they still pay off in fantasy? Like, for sure, right?
Definitely. Let's say hi to people in the chat. We got Purple Yosh in here. GM. The fan and stuff was euphoric. Yes, it was. It truly was. We got Best Ball on call in here. Two Michigan guys in the chat. We got everyone talking about Keon Coleman, the hooper. He is very athletic, big man, can jump.
Bindles. We just got a news flash from Philly Mike OG that Purdy's ruled out for the season.
For the season? Holy crap.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to pull it up now. You're on Twitter. Well, I mean, you might want to before you pull it up.
Yeah, that's okay. I can pull it up on another tab and share it.
Yeah. I'm scrolling. I'm trying to find the news. I'm going to search it. I don't see any of like the big.
Is he trying to spread misinformation?
Here? Philly Mike's been known to lie.
Okay, we'll keep our finger on the pulse and see if anything else comes up.
No, it's another Philly Mike OG lie.
Oh man, Mac Jones redemption season was almost here.
You know what? I was like, there's worse QB2s, but also there's a lot better QB2s.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially with some of the injuries. But let's talk about another San Fran guy. CMC, there was some, stuff around his calf, comes out and just absolutely dominates the touches. Or I think he had 30 touches, looking like the RB1 rest of season as long as he's healthy, which, I mean, he seems to be. It seemed like it was just a blip on the radar there.
Who's that?
CMC.
Oh, yeah. We're back.
And other ones, we were talking about Dylan Sampson, got a ton. I think he had 8 catches. So I think he's, pretty locked into that passing game role, even if Judkins, when Judkins comes back. So that's super, super promising. I think Judkins not much of a pass catcher. So I definitely think that's promising for Sampson, at least to have some role. And he could just be better than Judkins. Who knows? I mean, I'm not sure about that one, but we will definitely see. We're not going to talk about Javonte Williams. That was just a crazy, crazy game from him. Just kind of not doing much, but he was getting a lot of work. So, if you got him cheap in Dynasty or you drafted him pretty late in best ball, you feel pretty good at least getting one spike week out of him.
We'll see how it plays out. We'll say if Blue would have had that week, I would have been ecstatic. So I've got to give some credit, props to Javonte, but and depending on the format, your Dynasty League, your Redraft League, week 1 can matter because it's more about head-to-head matchups. But in best ball, I'm always playing for week 17. My thesis is still intact. Can Blue be the guy down the stretch? I think so. I hope so. But we'll see what turns out with Javonte. He was definitely a bell cow kind of workhorse role for them early on. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, and tough matchup obviously for the Cowboys against the Eagles, and especially for the obviously CeeDee Lamb 8. He had some drops, which I don't really care about. He's looking like he could be wide receiver 1 on the season. He's pacing for 200 targets, something around there. So I think there's going to be huge gains from him. And then Pickens got pretty encouraging usage.
Good targets. Target share, I think, and just it's going to be up and downs.
Yeah,
with Pickens, it's not always going to be consistent, but maybe it will get more consistent as the season goes on. I think no red flags there. I'm still wheels up for Pickens.
Yeah, and I think Josh Norris and Hayden Winks were kind of talking about the Eagles' defense really likes to take away kind of those sideline deep shots. So I think it's pretty much the stone worst matchup for a Pickens type player. So we'll see, but definitely I think the thesis is still alive and well for the Cowboys offense and all those pieces that we were drafting. Jaden Blue as well. If he gets the touches, I think he could do well. Some other guys, Travis Etienne. Do you want to talk on kind of the Jags backfield and how you're feeling with that?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about the Tootin shares. I'm excited to see where that goes. I think it is from a portfolio perspective, from a best ball perspective, it's good to have some Etienne, some Tootin. Etienne's hitting right now. Can he stay healthy? Can he keep it going? All of these things. How soon will Tootin come on? But to see Tank Bigsby go to the Eagles is very encouraging for both Etienne and Tootin backers. LaQuint Allen was getting some work, but I think that's just because he has utility for them, and he's proven to be reliable. And I think a good pass blocker as well as a pass catcher. But I think I'm pretty excited to see where Tootin goes as he starts to get more involved in the offense. And there is some kind of validity to the thesis around Etienne being fully healthy is going to be featured more. And I think Liam Cohen has found some trust in him. So can 2 running backs, both hit for fantasy in this backfield? I think, yes, it can be a situation like that. Also, as the season goes on, do I want to have my money on Tootin or Etienne? We'll see. Maybe Etienne just continues to hold on to the job, but I'm pretty excited about Tootin as it is. How about you?
Yeah, man. I mean, we just talked about the thesis for the Cowboys, which
similar,
we're very high on, and I think, I think Etienne, right? Obviously, he looked very good, and I think he's a good fit. And I think Tootin, I think is a similar type of player. I think obviously younger and a little bit more explosive at this point. So we'll see. I think we drafted a lot of Tootin, and it's not to say that he's just going to take over the backfield right away, but I think, the thesis is that he's going to work in now, right? LaQuint Allen will get some passing third down work, like you just said, but Tootin can maybe grow into that role a little bit more. He can split some of the early down work, and then if he just shows out, he can take over the backfield, whether that's mid-season, later on in the season, in the fantasy playoffs. Definitely a lot better without one of those backs being in the backfield. I mean, obviously.
Right. So. And just looking at this data, that I think this is the Ian Hartitz data, right?
Yes, it is.
So I see Travis Etienne right in the middle there with the 62% snaps and the 16 carries. Well, he was highly efficient with those, right? He had some big plays. Tank Bigsby at 19%, and then the 5, that's going to get split between Tootin and Allen going forward. Maybe Tootin gets more of that. I think kind of like what Anthony's saying in the chat, can we get Tootin on the Bucky Irving trajectory where he was a non-factor early in the season last year and really came on strong down the stretch? That's what we're looking for. I also thought it was interesting as I was looking through the results of week 1, I've been looking at the results of weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17 last season. Like I would looked at those so much during the summer, during the off season. Sure. And what you notice from them is across the positional groups, you get a really small sample of what could happen in any one given week. But if you compare the last 3-4 weeks of the season last year to the first week of the season, you get completely different stories. You have Joe Burrow doing nothing in week 1, 2024. At the end of 2024, Joe Burrow was the guy you had to have. And so the story can change so much during the season. And we know that. And any given week is going to be a tiny sample of all the potential outcomes. So I think it's very interesting to look at the names of the top 5 or 8 players across the position groups and things like tight end, maybe just like the top 3 or 4, but the top 8 or 10 QBs, then running backs, then receivers. Where are those break points in the fantasy scoring? Where's the tier breaks? Where's the guy that like separates from the pack? Derrick Henry in week 1 versus the number 10 running back, and the huge difference there, right? But the names as we continue on the season are going to be just shuffling and changing, whether it's due to injury or utilization or changes in roles, the rookies coming on, the younger guys coming on stronger. I think it's really interesting. And so that's part of the excitement about week 1. How much of it's signal, how much of it is noise, what can we carry forward, and then what do we expect to change for the better or worser?
Yeah, we're talking about the Bucky Irving trajectory. Bucky Irving, kind of taking over the backfield, 77% of the snaps, really just looking like he could be like a top 5 pick in redraft and best ball next year. So. Like if he's getting that kind of usage every week, top 5 running back, you set it and forget it. Don't worry about it. And that's without the O-line being super healthy. So if they get, a little bit healthier, I think, we could be in for an absolutely massive Bucky Irving season. So I'm super, super excited for that.
No doubt.
Do you want to move on to week 2? Is there anything else from week 1? Do you want to look at tight ends? Do you want to look at anything else? Any other notes here for running back?
You got me thinking, but move on to week 2 shortly. The last thing I'll say about tight ends from week 1, going back to my home league, it's half point PPR, 10 team. And I started Travis Kelce as my tight end. I got bailed out by that touchdown run, right? That 34-yard touchdown scamper. He had like 2 receptions. I got bailed out, but there's Harold Fannin Jr. and there's Juwan Johnson on my waiver wire. So I'm going to make a pretty aggressive move to get one of those guys. I'm slightly prioritizing Juwan Johnson right now, but like in the back of my head, I'm like, should I be taking Harold Fannin first? I think you might say yes. But I think both of these guys could have strong roles going forward, right? Maybe Juwan Johnson, he had a ton of targets and some good production. Harold Fannin in the same way, pretty exciting. So I don't know. I'm right now I have it. It isn't my own anecdote, but I don't have any other tight ends on my roster. I did that very intentionally. So I was carrying more running backs and wide receivers through week 1, trying to get those upside looks. But now, as I'm thinking about, do I want to potentially start Kelce every week, or am I have to phase him out if he's going to be more inconsistent? And can I get a guy who's a high target earner and more consistent floor with ceiling scoring, and guys that could be like Juwan Johnson or Harold Fannin? So, I put out a bid. I think right now it's like 15 out of 100 for Juwan Johnson. I'm pretty aggressive on that. I think I have 9 right now for Harold Fannin. So I'm hoping to get one of them. And I think I probably will. I know we've seen Kittle get injured, Bowers. And so there's some injury concerns at tight end. People are going to be on the waiver wires going for these guys. But that's kind of my thought. I wanted to, bounce that off of you. How do you feel about that outlook?
Yeah. I mean, obviously high on Fannin. From a season long perspective, I think he's still a good bet. I think it's going to be a little bit hit. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a little bit hit or miss just with Njoku, with kind of, there's a lot of there's Judy, there's Tillman has been playing super well in games that he's not injured. So I think Juwan is a very good pickup for redraft. Like we were just talking about the Saints, so I'm not going to go over it again. But yeah, like they're going to be down. They're going to be passing a lot, and there's not that much competition. It's basically those three guys, Olave, Shaheed, and Juwan Johnson. So they have to pass to
Throw in
someone.
some Kamara. It's pretty consolidated is what we think.
Yeah, and Kamara didn't get a ton of targets actually in this game, which, you know, might be a little bit fluky, but I definitely think it's a little bit of coaching and just the way they scheme stuff up. It's less like just design targets, more just kind of dropping back and just letting things happen, and as opposed to what the Kamara PPR scam is usually happening. So yeah, I think Juwan Johnson would it be that surprising if he's a top 12 tight end? You know what I mean? Rest of the season? I don't think so. With that amount of volume, it's definitely possible. Probably won't get a ton of touchdowns just because the offense isn't super good and there's not that many touchdowns to go around, but definitely can keep you afloat if you had a Kittle injury. See what happens with Bowers. And so yeah, I think they're both pretty solid pickups. I would almost slightly prefer Juwan, but I think that's if you're really going in, if you're really a slappy, if you're really just going with the talent on Fannin, I think he could continue to ascend. So I think there's a little bit more ceiling maybe for Fannin, just kind of maybe they
non-derogatory. That's fair.
Yeah, maybe they trade Njoku. I don't think they will, but it's possible. And maybe he just continues to crush the whole season. Whereas Juwan, it's like I said, like probably going to get a lot of targets, but probably going to have some stinkers as well, just with the offense not being great. So
I agree.
Those are the big targets. Kyle Pitts didn't look terrible. Looked a little bit better. Looked a little bit healthier. I think
battle of attrition. Who can command targets in that offense, right? Who's going to be available in week 2?
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I doubt he's on waivers, but definitely feeling a little bit better with the London injury. We'll see what's happening. It doesn't look super serious, but I think we're still going to see. Anyone else here that really stands out? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, who do you like here?
Yeah, I think, I mean, Hunter Henry didn't have a huge game, but I definitely think, like, kind of just seeing that, like, the wide receivers are not that good. Kayshon Boutte had a good game. Diggs kind of still ramping up, first game back from an injury. And then Demario Douglas had, I think, negative yardage. So yeah, I think we'll see what happens. I still think Drake May is a little bit raw. He hasn't started a ton of games, so he could come on stronger throughout the season. But Henry definitely is someone as well. If you're struggling at tight end, if you're looking to make a trade in Dynasty or kind of just need someone to fill in for an injured tight end, I definitely think he'll have some bigger weeks and has the ability to command targets in an offense where they don't have a ton of talent around him. So I definitely think he's interesting at least. But
I remember one more thing that I was excited about. I did watch the Monday Night Football game, and Jordan Mason, while not the biggest week 1 performance that he's had in his career, because he did break out last year in week 1, but he had a hell of a game. He had some really nice runs, a ton of yards after contact. He was powerful. The offense is going to be coming together. First, it was a slow start for JJ McCarthy, the offense, Kevin O'Connell, but Kevin O'Connell has faith in his offense and his young players. He's hand selected these guys, Jordan Mason being one of them. I think Thor Nystrom was able to come back out on Twitter on Tuesday morning. And gosh, was that last night? Was that literally
last night? I know it doesn't seem like
what a long weekend, man. But wow. Yeah. So JJ comes in the fourth quarter. The Vikings offense gets going. Justin Jefferson gets his touchdown. I saw some very impressive runs from Jordan Mason, so I'm pretty excited about that going forward. I think that's going to pay off huge. Hey, Aaron Jones had a good touchdown score in his own right in some big plays, but I think what we'll see is that Jordan Mason is just part of the engine of that offense. Of course, there's the whole passing game component where they're loaded. They've got, Jay Jettis, they got Hawkinson. Addison's going to come back sooner than later. Maybe Thielen can have some better weeks. He kind of had a down week, but he's adjusting. I thought the storyline of Thielen having some off-season practice with JJ McCarthy before they were on the same team was pretty intriguing and pretty, good for the vibes. So I'm not totally worried about Thielen at the moment, but part of his thesis was also like early season production. When you change teams, it might be a little bit harder, but maybe we can see some Thielen games in the short near term too. But I'm pretty excited about Jordan Mason there, even though Aaron Jones had a good game in his own right. I think what I saw from Jordan Mason made me excited.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the stat. I think it was Jacob Gibbs that tweeted it, but I think it was like yards over expectation or something. It was like crazy number. So I think, yeah, like obviously JJ McCarthy first start, he came together in the second half. I still think it's going to be good offense just with KOC. Like that just kind of gives you a level of security that the offense will at least be decent, and there's still upside with all the pieces with Addison coming back. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think Mason looked good. They're both going to work in, but I think as the season goes on, Mason just being that reliable guy, and definitely, I think he definitely was the goal line back as well. So that's pretty exciting. So get some touchdowns, just a larger percentage of the rush share as the season goes on. That's going to be pretty good. He got 15 of the 23 rush attempts. So that's pretty solid. Not going to catch a ton of passes. So not crazy upside, not crazy ceiling, but I think where we were taking him, still a very good bet. And, hopefully it plays out as the season goes on.
Two last players I got to get your opinion on. We haven't talked yet. Aaron Sandy reminded me in the chat. Yo, what up, Aaron? We also got Tyler in here. Typhoid Tower on a Tuesday going up. We got Huhames in here. What's up? What's up, brothers? How we doing? Bindles. Bill Krosky Merritt. Take it away. What we learn?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just good at football. It's you know what? It's not too dissimilar from what we were just talking about with Jordan Mason. Obviously more upside because he's a rookie and can grow into the role. Like like we were saying in the beginning, like you take more out of someone's performance in a 1 week sample if they're a rookie, if they're a second year player and they're kind of an ascending player versus Jordan Mason who's been in the league for a while. But I mean, yeah, I think the Commanders are going to be a very good offense. I think it's mostly just going to be him and Austin Eckler. Eckler obviously going to be the passing down back. So that limits his upside, but I think
did Bill catch any passes?
That is a very good question.
I don't know because I wasn't directly rostering him in any active.
I don't believe so. I think he had 10 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
I believe was the stat line. I don't think there was any receptions. So, but I mean, yeah, it's about as good as you can see from a rookie's performance.
Oh yeah, and Debo crushed too. I thought Debo had a hell of a game. Right. That was.
Yeah, Debo is set up to absolutely smash. I think. To be fair, McLaurin did have a pass that like barely missed him on a deep ball. So like, it's going to be a good offense. They're going to ping pong weeks. We'll see Terry McLaurin with a still, he could challenge for 10, 12 touchdowns. I think.
He'll come on, right? He'll miss some time.
Exactly.
Other player Bindles.
Yep.
In a few words, take it or leave it. Quentin Johnston.
I'm leaving it. I think for best ball, you're psyched. Like, right? Like, I think we drafted him in the 18th round. He fell to us in one of our last drafts for the season.
Double smash.
Yeah, best ball, you feel great. But redraft, it's going to be hard to know when to start him. So don't feel the best about him in redraft. But I mean, definitely you feel good about if you draft him in best ball. It's a win no matter where you took him.
I will say, people forget Justin Herbert, 5,000 yard passer. He's done it before. He could be fully healthy. Could be looking good. 5,000 yards. That's some Peyton Manning, Tom Brady level production. And those guys could always support 3 wideouts. So it just becomes the question is who are those 3 receivers in the offense? If he gets to that level, almost assuredly it's Ladd McConkey, right? Could the second one be Keenan Allen? Maybe he's like the the third, maybe because he's obviously good, but very veteran, very experienced. Could QJ be the two, the second biggest target guy? I'm wondering, or do we start to see Trey Harris and KLS come on in, and is it less consolidated? Is it more kind of is it fragmented target share? So that's what I'm curious about. But I still think, 4,500, 5,000 passing yards for Herbert incoming, then you want a piece of it.
Yeah, Keenan Allen is it's a weird example of a guy who's older who he's never really fallen off. Like even last year with the Bears, who were just terrible. Rome didn't really do much. DJ Moore didn't have a great season. Keenan was pretty good last year, and then obviously comes out first game with the Chargers and has great chemistry with his former quarterback, Justin Herbert. So I'm still on the Keenan Allen side. Like until we kind of see him fall off, like I don't want to just be betting on that. And but it's not inconceivable that QJ could just kind of take the next step, and Keenan is older, so he could get injured, could kind of fall off. But yeah, definitely still on the Keenan side. I think, you feel pretty. Talk about Keenan bags. He was going 18th round, 17th round for
I had more.
Yeah, almost the whole offseason. So I know we had some fellow best ball bros that were super in on that and taking him a ton. So definitely an early season dub for those guys. We're going to switch over to week 2, but before I think I hear something.
Hey guys, I'm down in Miami at the Hard Rock. Just got done watching the practice of the Finns in their preparation against New England on Sunday. While I was out here watching Tyreek and Waddle and the boys doing their thing, I ran into Chris Forrester. Remember him? The guy got busted for doing blow in the facility. He was telling me some deep secrets about the team and how they're going to attack New England. I got a feeling big things in Dolphin land this weekend. So let's take McDaniel's word for it. Nothing to see here. Click away.
Shout out to the homie, Mathology. He's been killing it over on Neil streams on Mondays, or I think it's Tuesdays now. Doing some dog bulls, doing some other stuff. And he actually wanted me to shout out. He has if you guys haven't checked out the DFS masterclass that the Badge Bros and Pete put together, there's a 10% off. If you guys use promo code MATH, you can get 10% off of that. So yeah, shout out to our guy Mathology. He will be making appearances with his classic segment there, and we will talk to him throughout the season. We'll have to have him on sometime too as well to talk with us.
10 out of 10. So I think the takeaway there is don't be afraid to click the Fins in week 2 after that week 1. Is that our takeaway?
I don't know how you read that. I don't know. I think it's there's a little bit of a dumpster fire going on.
It was a dumpster fire.
So,
coming live from a dumpster fire. So maybe the takeaway is avoid.
Yeah, we'll have to get clarity from Math on that one. I think it's choose your own adventure there, but
it is choose your own adventure. I mean, you could say avoid, or it's a dumpster fire, or you could say low projected ownership in combos in both DFS and the battle royales this week. So Tua stacks. I think I actually heard him talk about Tua stacks today. I was listening in to he and Neil talking and drafting some battle royales. So incredible. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at these week 2 games. Bindles, could you do me a favor? Just like zoom in. You're at 100% right there. And if you could go to like 150, I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah, let's yeah, there you go. That looks better.
I like it.
You want it bigger or is that good?
No, that works for me.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, so what I haven't looked a ton at these so far, but
research.
Yeah,
you're on the right show.
Yes, you are on the right show. But yeah, what have you looked at any of these so far? I know you said you were listening a little bit to Math earlier today and Neil. Why don't you give your quick thoughts and let me formulate my thesis here.
Sure. My first thought was, okay, so we have the Packers and the Commanders on Thursday night. That's the first game coming up this week. It's not part of the main slate, but it's just, as we're planning our holistic approach, thinking about best ball, our redraft, our dynasty start decisions, that Packers defense is looking incredible. I was reading some athletic articles today. I saw a power ranking that had the Packers team power ranked the second team in the entire NFL right now, power ranking wise, and it's led by that defense. So
yeah, the defense
it's gonna get scary how good the defense works up and ramps up to become when Micah Parsons has some more time with that team. I am a little bit weary of the Commanders, although it's hard to not want to start those guys because, like we've been saying, we're super excited about the Jaden Daniels MVP season thesis. That ascending offense. They've added weapons, they've added pieces, the whole Bill hype. The hype around that offense in general. So all good things. That's one thing that stuck out to me though. Is it's a Thursday night game. It's a short week. Really good defense from the Packers. Not a bad defense for the Commanders either. As far as I can read it. And right now the point total looks pretty high, but I'm just wondering if that's an under and it's a little bit of maybe a situation where you can't bench your Commanders players. You just can't do it, but it could be a really tough matchup for them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think usually I don't think there's like defenses these days that we're like super avoiding just because of their defense. Usually it's like pretty neutral, but there are outliers, and I think definitely the Packers defense could be one of those outliers where it's like, okay, you just don't really want a piece of the offense going against them that week because of how dominant they are. So it's obviously
look what they did to Detroit last week. Detroit, the highest scoring offense in the league last year, put up 13 points, got snuffed out by this Packers defense. So I know it was in Green Bay. So that, and it's a divisional game, and sometimes those go different directions and kind of things. This Thursday night game's also in Green Bay. So, I mean, this could be a bad spot for Commanders, but what are you going to do? You can't bench your Commanders players.
No, definitely not. But I definitely agree on the under. I definitely think could be trending towards that. The game that's I think super, super interesting, obviously, is the Ravens with the highest implied points there with 28.5. We just saw them, they did lose, but they, super, super high powered offense. We talked about Zay Flowers. Derrick Henry had a crazy game. Lamar is doing his thing. I think this is a super fun game because of the game environment. I think the Ravens could put some points up, and then the Browns are just super, super willing to pass the ball. Joe Flacco and Kevin Stefanski are just they don't care. They'll pass every single time. So I think that could lead to some really good target totals for some of these guys. I'm really interested in I know we were talking about Fannin. He's super interesting. I think the guy who is kind of underrated and I think could be a sneaky play is Cedric Tillman. When he's been playing with Judy and last year and then so far this year, they've put up pretty similar numbers, and Tillman is just so much cheaper in every format. So I think Judy could, the Ravens corners didn't look great. So I think this is kind of one of those very fun game environments where you have the Ravens kind of, pulling ahead, pushing, and the Browns willing to keep up and just pass the ball a ton. So that can lead to some really, really, really big fantasy scores from both teams. So I'm obviously highest implied team. So that's kind of a given, but sometimes you don't get a team that can kind of come back and really make anything happen on the other side of things. So I think this could be a very high scoring game. And I think the Ravens defense obviously it's the Bills, so it's like that's not really your average team. It's two aliens at quarterback playing against each other. But yeah, I'm super excited about the Browns pieces specifically in this matchup.
And so that is going to be a home game for the Ravens. Like you said, the Bills put up some numbers, but when the Bengals traveled into Cleveland, the Cleveland defense surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly to everyone, but for most of us, we thought Cincinnati would be able to generate more offense around Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, of course, right? Historically, a slow starting team, especially Joe Burrow and his week 1 production. But Cleveland held them to 17 points, Cincinnati 17 points, and they probably should have won. A missed extra point, a missed field goal, I think it came down to, if I'm remembering correctly. So my only thought there is, was it actually a fluke that Cincinnati pulled out the win? Is this Cleveland team, although they're low scoring, are they actually a pretty viable opponent? Another divisional matchup. So could the Ravens, which I never want to vote on or like bet against the Ravens to underproduce, but could this be another tough matchup for them? And it's more of a grinded out, lower scoring game. At the same time, we saw how explosive that Ravens offense was. They were breaking huge plays left and right. So that's a fun game. Definitely an interesting one. Another game on here that I think could be a total shootout and I'm very excited for, and a lot of fantasy pieces we're going to want, is that Buffalo at New York game. It's a noon game in the main slate. We just saw the Ravens, speaking of the Ravens, and King Henry go off against Buffalo, put up a ton of rushing yards. New York, looked pretty damn good running the ball, whether it was Fields or if it was, the running backs with Breece Hall. And
Breece Hall looked good.
I think Braylon Allen, I don't actually know what he ended up with, his point totals, his stat totals, but it sounded like people were, hyping up that whole backfield as what came out of from New York in the production. I remember watching that game on Red Zone, and it looked like a lot of Fields highlights, obviously the Breece big plays and then the Garrett Wilson touchdown. But New York surprising in week 1. They almost got the victory against the Steelers. They kind of, the Steelers came back and stole it from them a little bit, but a high point total. One of the highest scoring games was that New York versus Pittsburgh in week 1. And then you had the highest scoring game, Buffalo versus the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. So now we have 2 different pieces from those high scoring games, Buffalo versus New York. I think this could also be a great environment for fantasy scoring.
Yeah, the Jets offense looks good, which I didn't think we were going to say, but Tanner Engstrom, you have Justin Fields. You kind of always are like, just run the ball with him and then focus on your kind of alpha receiver, use your talented running backs. It's like, okay, this kind of makes sense. This is, an offense where you're utilizing the talents that you have to the best of their ability. So, yeah, I think this one's super, super exciting. I think Justin Fields is looking like he's going to be a value and where we were taking him in best ball. And I think definitely some Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields stacks are going to win people some money this year for sure. So, and then, yeah, they're right. Bills offense is going to be pushing them. Definitely could get a couple Bills pieces, maybe a Keon Coleman, maybe a James Cook, and then bring it back with a Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson stack there. But yeah, that's a very exciting one. I agree with you.
I actually saw it was during Neil and Methodology's stream earlier today. They were doing a dog bowl, and Emo Cowboy was drafting from the 3 spot, and I think he took Justin Fields in the 3rd round. It's only 6 rounds, and it's get your guys. There's no such thing as ADP this early in the week, and we have 1 week sample size of changing new data, new information. But he took Fields super early on, and I thought it kind of makes sense. The whole reason we were drafting Fields around pick 100 in best ball all summer was the uncertainty. First, where is he going to land? Then he goes to the Jets. We're still drafting him. He rises up a little bit, but he never really continued to rise. And with Fields, the whole thesis is he going to, is he going to get it together and actually be a useful passer and enable Garrett Wilson to kind of hit Garrett Wilson type ceilings, and instead of being a hampering kind of quarterback or arm in that passing offense, the rushing upside was always going to be there, right? And so it's reducing the turnovers, the interceptions, the fumbles, those kind of things, and getting kind of those real football plays and drives that the coaches feel confident in keeping him out there and continuing to use him. But also we saw the Jets using Justin Fields in exactly the way you would want him to be used versus what was going on with the Steelers last year, which was like a mess. So I think Justin Fields wheels up, knowing all the things, the new information we have, the new team. Like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you have new players, rookie players, and then you have players on new teams. You get new information. So for Fields, this was a whole new scenario, a whole new environment, new information, new teammates. What's going to happen? He's smashing. So adjust the priors, shift Fields up. Should he have been going, around the Burrow range, maybe even the Jaden Daniels, creeping into that range around, Jalen Hurts, those other top QBs? I think potentially yes.
Yeah, one game sample, but I mean, it's very, very encouraging the way that he was used. And yeah, it's always been about the rush, right? Like rushing is the Konami code is just so important for fantasy quarterbacks. And yeah, getting a guy that cheap that has that upside is just huge. And glad to see it paying off early. Any other thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think the piece I'd want the most of for that game is some part of the rushing attack. I mean, obviously Josh Allen, but then the cheaper piece is a piece of the rushing attack for the Jets. Probably Breece Hall can have a really solid week.
Sure.
Fields is a piece of that, and then Braylon Allen might be the cheaper way to get to that. But I think in these like 6-round BRs, it's going to be paying up a little bit for Breece and chasing that talent.
Yeah, no, I think Breece looked super good. And the Bills defense, not the greatest. They can definitely rush the passer, but I think on the ground we saw, obviously Derrick Henry is just an absolute grown ass man. So take that with a grain of salt, but Breece looked explosive. He was getting some passing game work and definitely looking like a value in best ball drafts this year. So definitely looks like a jam. I agree.
One of the matchups that I'm a little bit afraid of is Tampa Bay at Houston. Houston, one of 3 teams that did not score a touchdown in week 1, as far as I saw it. Tampa Bay, they eked out, that win against the Falcons, right? But had some nice plays along the way. The Houston defense, though, not a pushover. We'll see what's up with Stingley and how he's looking for week 2. I don't even know if we've heard yet whether his status. The Rams only scored 14 points at home against the Texans. Could we see something similar in week 2 where it's a low scoring event? So kind of as I was talking about being slightly fearful of starting those Commanders pieces against the Packers in week 2 because of the Packers defense, I'm a little bit hesitant. I mean, we can't bench these guys. You're not going to bench Bucky Irving. You're not going to bench Mike Evans, Mika Buka after his breakout week 1. But this Houston defense, man, I mean, and it's a Monday night game. It's a doubleheader on Monday, but it's in Houston. Stout defense. It's one of the lower over-unders of the week at 42.5. And right now the line is Houston minus 2.5 that I'm seeing on ESPN. I think I don't know if you had to scroll down here if we've got, no, there it is. Yeah, you've got it very similar here, 43.5 and under 2.5 here in the spread. And I think, I don't know, for some reason it shows on yours is Texans at Buccaneers, but it's Buccaneers at Houston. I'm pretty certain, but either way, it's going to be maybe potentially a low scoring event. So how do you avoid starting your Bucks? I don't think you can.
No, I definitely can.
Could we see a low scoring event? And then Nico Collins, I mean, you can't hold him down for long. We're going to see some production sooner or later. So I think you have to start those guys. The other pieces of the Texans offense, you might have a little bit more hesitancy starting either the running backs there or guys like the Higgins, the Knoll, obviously Kirk being out. Cade Stover is out indefinitely. I don't know if that makes Schultz any more attractive. He's definitely going to consolidate some of the tight end reps, snaps, targets to some extent. But to me, it's Nico, and that's kind of it. It's kind of thin bet.
I think definitely Schultz punt tight end play. I think he had five targets, 5 catches. So that's not for anything special, but if you're punting. But yeah, I'm pretty into Nico Collins against this Bucks secondary. So I don't even think you necessarily have to stack him with Stroud, but definitely think a big bounce back week could be coming for Nico. And then I'm still willing to play a Mike Evans and Igbuka. And so yeah, you can definitely still get a little mini going on there between some of the pass catchers there. But yeah, I agree. It's not the most exciting game, but I think the Buccaneers secondary is pretty bad. So I think Nico could be the main play that I'm looking at in that game. So
Aaron in the chat wants to know if we like Javonte versus the Giants. So in week 1, it was Washington going up, or the Giants going up against Washington. We had, Bill with his 82 rushing yards. And I think, so if we're looking at what that could mean, could Javonte have, a highly efficient rushing attack kind of week against the Giants? It'll be interesting to see. I think he's still startable. Obviously, he had one of the bigger performances of week 1. Definitely like a stronger flex play, of course. Like if you've got him, you can probably put him in your flex. That's probably where you drafted him for these redraft leagues, maybe even dynasty. I think it will be telling if Javonte Williams doesn't really have a big explosive week against the Giants. It can mean 2 things. One is he's just never going to get there with his efficiency. He's always going to be a volume-based, touchdown-dependent play. Or 2, that Bill really is him, that Bill is going to have the ability to break off these huge, averaging 8 yards per carry kind of big weeks against potentially anyone. So we'll see. I think that's an interesting one for sure. And then the other flip side of it, you're saying, Aaron, was like, do we like Javonte versus the Giants more than Dobbins versus the Colts? For me, I think the way that Achane got there against the Colts in week 1 was more like through the air. And against the Colts are seemingly pretty good. How much of that was the dumpster fire, like Mythology said, of the Miami Dolphins down there in South Beach? How much of it was the Colts actually being a good team? The Colts were, borderline playoff team last year, decent record. They come out looking strong. And I think they're overall, all around, the Colts are probably a little bit undervalued as a team as a whole. So Dobbins against them in week 2 with those Broncos. I don't know. I mean, it seems like with the Broncos, it's hard to pin down the touches, the targets. They were so fragmented. They were so distributed across a number of players. I think at one point I heard someone say that there was 8 different players on the Broncos who had received a target, and it was maybe halftime or going into half on Sunday last week. So the Broncos, we're not seeing a huge consolidation yet around where the touches are going. Harvey and Sutton did a little bit of that through, kind of their talent and ability. But to me, I would probably, and it sounds crazy to say, but I would probably think Javonte Williams ahead of Dobbins. But I'm willing to see where people are ranking them as the week goes on. But early thought, first look, yeah, probably just keep riding with Javonte. And the main reason is because he was consolidating touches in that backfield. We're going to probably see Miles Sanders get some, treatment from the fumble that's, less, that's even giving him even less workload and moving more on to Javonte Williams, apparently. So I think I'm pretty cool there, Javonte over Dobbins. How about you, Bindles?
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to switch out my computers. So sorry if my
You're good.
Audio isn't as good, but yeah, I think I'm leaning Javante. I just think it's a pretty good spot. I think it's a bounce back week for the Cowboys against this Giants team. So I think they're going to score a lot of points. Projected, they have 25 implied points here. I think they could go over that. So yeah, I want a piece of the offense that I think is going to score more. And we saw Javante. I mean, he consolidated a lot of the work. Maybe Jaden Blue comes on strong as the season goes on, but I think for now it's Javante going to get the bulk of everything, getting the goal line touches. So yeah, I think I'd go with a better offense in my mind, better matchup, and go with Javante.
Makai Collins in the chat is asking, are we liking Connor this week? And so we look here at our matchups. We have the Cardinals versus the Panthers. It's a pretty middle of the pack type of game, but the thing I think back to is week 1, where it was a home game for Jacksonville, but Travis Etienne putting up 143 rush yards, going off huge chunk plays, and looking really good against a Carolina defense. So I think James Conner against that same Panthers defense, also in a home game for Arizona, smash play in week 2. I think I saw Conner going as early as the second round in some of these dog bowls, going really high. So he's going to be one of the top running back plays this week, I think. Although I will say we're hearing more of the Trey Benson hype kind of ramping up, which, I mean, I think he looked good in his own right and had some good plays. I'm still pretty confident that Connor is the guy you want there, at least for now. Any thoughts on this matchup for Connor, Bindles?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, yeah, definitely a little bit concerning with kind of the Benson usage. Maybe Connor not the true bell cow that we've seen in the last couple of years. But that being said, I think the Panthers defense, absolutely horrendous. And this positive game script for them really plays into James Conner this week. So yeah, James Conner this week, super into. A little bit concerned season long, but this week you're definitely firing him up as a kind of RB1, RB2 border type guy there. So super into Conner, definitely starting him where I have him.
Yeah, I think, maybe Connor's kind of the obvious play. Maybe the sneaky play is Benson. I think people are talking about it. It might not be that sneaky, but in some of these smaller, these tournaments, these battle royales, you're drafting a smaller number of players, or if you're setting a DFS lineup and you want to get different in your flex, maybe Benson is the way to go. We'll see as this thing evolves. Can Benson continue to take over the workload? I didn't think going into this season it would be that possible. I was in on Benson before his rookie season. After his rookie season, I wasn't so excited, but it looked pretty good in week 1. And that situation, like, is this for real? Do we now believe in Trey Benson going forward more than we did before because of what we saw in week 1? And I think maybe, but I got to do some more. I got to look more into it. I will say I didn't see a ton during Red Zone. I didn't see a ton of the Cardinals at New Orleans. It was not one of the most featured games, but it did hit the screen a few times. And I haven't heard too much about it other than the hype around Benson is one of those things. And then Bindles and I were talking earlier about the number of passing attempts that Spencer Rattler had and how consolidated the Saints offense looks and kind of the fantasy points over expected that they were generating, and maybe they can regress towards those numbers going forward. Hartman brings up a great point here. The deal with Jaden Reed, start as long as he's healthy. Man, better in best ball.
It's tough.
right there. If you looked up better in best ball in the dictionary, like you're going to see a picture of Jaden Reed with a broken foot, because it's tough to know. The Packers, and we didn't get, I was going to pull up the coach speak, but I have Discord closed out. I can pull it up on my phone. We didn't really get any kind of admission or any kind of updates from the Packers around how they intend to use their wide receivers or their offense going forward. We have another update from OC Adam Stenovich recently, and it's on the wide distribution of targets. He says, the offensive coordinator for the Packers, we try to spread the ball around for sure. They talked to Coach Matt LaFleur earlier. I think it was maybe after the game. There was actually since the post-game presser, and they asked him how the wide receiver snaps will be distributed throughout the season. Matt LaFleur says, we'll see. It's game to game. We went into this last game with the mindset of more 12 and 21 personnel and less 11 personnel. He talks about different guys practicing, different ranges of outcomes, number of, a range of certain number of play counts that they were trying to keep them within. So the Packers, it's a mystery box right now. We need more information. I'm not going to sit my studs. Obviously you roll forward with Josh Jacobs. If you drafted Golden in your redraft leagues, you're probably going to need to start him because he's expensive, right? So I think, start your studs, start your young guns, wait for the breakout game. We'll get more information. But as it goes for Jaden Reed, I've got Jaden Reed on my bench right now in my home half-point PPR league. I'm starting Rashid Shaheed over him, and I might have to flip a coin when it comes down to this matchup for this Sunday, where we have, like I said, the Packers are actually playing Thursday against Washington. So maybe I still won't play Reed. It's kind of an early matchup. But then again, we have the Saints going up against the 49ers. That's right. I probably want to have it. I don't know. Maybe I want to have it in that game, or do I want to have it in the Thursday night game? That's kind of a toss up for me. I got to figure that one out. But
yeah, that's flip a coin right there. I mean, I think I'm going Shaheed. Like, I don't trust Jaden Reed's health right now. If Jaden Reed was fully healthy, I'm rolling with Reed, not thinking about it. But we just don't know really what's happening with Jaden Reed from an injury. It was like just he had a Jones fracture or something, and then he comes out and has a pretty good game week 1. But I think it's a wait and see on him. So I would personally lean Shaheed. I think obviously San Fran a little bit banged up, but I still think we were talking about the Saints earlier, and just like they're going to be passing a ton. Shaheed is always live for a big play, and just you don't have to worry about the injury risk there. So, but yeah, I agree. It's pretty much full.
So we were on earlier, and that son of a bitch, Philly Mike OG, trolled us with some fake Purdy news, which he always does. He comes on here. We love him, but he comes on here and says Purdy just ruled out for the season. Mac Jones named starter for the remainder of the season. And we went to Twitter. Took us about less than 10 seconds to realize that was a troll and not true. But Purdy, a shoulder injury and a toe injury in week 1. When asked which injury was worse for him, we had Shanahan coming out and saying that the toe injury is actually more concerning. The shoulder seems fine. He'll manage it, but the toe injury could be limiting. So would I drop Purdy for Penix with no other context? Let's assume it's redraft. Let's assume it's single quarterback. I want to hold Purdy, I think. But if I can find a way to get Penix on my roster, I also want to do that. So if it comes down to it, you have a really shallow bench and you can't afford to drop a second tight end or somebody else that is injured already, or a extra wide receiver. If I had to, would I drop Purdy for Penix? It's tough. It's tough. Maybe because of the injuries.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the injuries, I would consider it. But I've also been pretty bullish on Michael Penix Jr. all offseason. I think I've seen what his ceiling can be, both in college and in NFL, in small sample sizes in NFL. But He's a tall lefty. He's a great, deep ball, great moon ball. He elevates the players around him. I don't think we've even seen his full potential in week one alone. I think he had some good looks, some things that we can be optimistic about. The rushing upside is there a little bit too, similar to JJ McCarthy. I think in a lot of ways, we're looking forward to what he can continue to develop into. I thought JJ McCarthy had some really accurate, really nice balls. And I think Penix, I'd have to go back and kind of rewatch some of that game. But I remember being on, and I remember liking what I was seeing there too.
Yeah, no, I think Penix, he's looking solid. But yeah, it would be a last resort for me to drop Purdy, just knowing the upside in that offense. Obviously, no Kittle for a few weeks. That's not great. But if you can drop some, like you said, backup tight end, someone else where you can just free up the bench spot and hold them and just wait and see, I'd try to roster both just for the near term. We got another question from Robbie Boz. He says, would you trade Tucker Kraft to get Tyler Warren in a dynasty league? Yeah, we didn't talk about Tyler Warren actually, but he looked amazing. He was getting a bunch of those RPO targets, which kind of was Josh Downs was getting a lot of those last year. The year before that was Michael Pittman. It's a super valuable kind of role in this Shane Steichen offense. And
did you hear? Was Gretsch talking about that on his recap? Did you hear him talk? Is that where I heard it?
Yeah, a few people. I saw a few people talking about it.
Yeah. On the RotoViz on the week one recap, I was listening to it this morning. I'm pretty sure, and I think that's one of the things that stuck with me. And you just reminded me that Tyler Warren getting the first read targets, and especially out of the RPOs and the Colts offense humming. I think while we had some technical difficulties, I was kind of speaking to that. The Colts offense, the whole Colts team, a little bit undervalued. They were borderline playoff team last year. They're pretty solid across the board, both sides of the ball, and they've got some talent, some weapons on offense as well. If Daniel Jones can be competent, and if the problem with Daniel Jones was half on him, half on the Giants, and now he's on the Colts that are a better organization for him, and they're going to utilize Daniel Jones more effectively, put him in better situations, then, wheels up, Tyler Warren looking good. But would you trade Kraft to get Tyler Warren in Dynasty League? I don't know if you could give up only Tucker Kraft and get Tyler Warren at this rate. I think you'd have to give up more than that. Bindles?
Yeah. Tucker Kraft also looked good, but it's just he doesn't, just the way this offense is structured, and knowing that we're talking about the Packers defense being so good, I think they're going to be pretty run heavy. There'll be games where it'll open up, but just kind of that defense kind of limits upside. So Kraft, good player, definitely in on him in Dynasty, an ascending player. But Warren looks like he's the tight end 3 right now in Dynasty behind Bowers and McBride. So I think his value is, after that week one and the usage he got, is going to the absolute moon. So yeah, I definitely think you'd have to add something. But if you can, add a second, add I don't know, like a Darnell Mooney, kind of like a second round-ish value player that has some name value, you could definitely do that. And I would be trying to do that for sure. Anytime you can kind of tier up into one of these young players that is also producing, you're gonna, that's how you want to be structuring your dynasty teams for sure. So yeah, Tyler Warren, definitely a buy high for me after week one.
100% agree. I think the tiering up for the young players that are also producing is an incredible, dynasty advice little nugget there. The one thing that you said wrong, though, you said that Tyler Warren was the tight end 3 in Dynasty. He's actually the 4th because it goes Harold Fannin first, and then Bowers, then McBride, then Warren, right? So
you're right. You got me on that one.
No, but really, yeah, Tyler Warren looking really good. I think it could it be a buy low window for Colston Loveland after that Monday night performance?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Colston Loveland, he's obviously not getting the week 1 usage right out of the gate, but I definitely still think we're at top 10 pick. He did have some injuries and stuff going into throughout camp and everything and throughout the offseason. So yeah, I mean, if you can buy low on Loveland and have another like a Juwan Johnson where you can start Juwan Johnson and then kind of stash Loveland for when he kind of starts trending in the right direction, I think that's a great move. So yeah, if you can get any discount on Loveland, definitely do it. Yeah.
Anyone who drafted Loveland's not going to be willing to give him up so soon, but it's a fun thought. And then another question here from Aaron Sandy, trade question. He says, Trey McBride and Jordan Addison for Amon-Ra. Which side wins? It depends a little bit on the format there, but let me go out on a limb. I'm guessing you would want the Trey McBride side?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does depend on the format, but I definitely think Trey McBride is going to score
full PPR, not tight end premium, just full PPR.
Yeah, I still think he'll score pretty similarly to Amon-Ra, and you get the positional advantage as well. And then I think Addison is going to smash when he comes back. So it's close. It's close. I think you can go either way. It depends if you need it. It depends on your team and the structure and everything. But personally, I'm a Trey McBride stan, so I'm going that side. But
it's close enough for me that team need starts to factor in a little bit.
Yeah.
I also don't want to be out on Amon-Ra though. The dude is just like prolific. He's hard to replicate. That's hard to replace as well. And I think tight end scoring and non-tight end premium, or I don't know, does it actually differentiate that enough? Yeah. In tight end premium, Trey McBride separates even further from the other tight ends who aren't as elite. So I guess I like to joke that tight ends don't matter. And so I would say, okay, what's the difference between getting 17 points from Trey McBride in a top week, to win your championship versus getting 11 or 10 points from Juwan Johnson when Amon-Ra could put up 35 points and, the similar step down is a 17-point production from, let's just say Jordan Addison, but at the same time, Jordan Addison could put up 35 points, but, in that week snapshot. So I think Amon-Ra hits, maybe just has a higher ceiling straight up, but as it comes down to positional need, and what that means, it could be a little bit different there.
No, very, very valid. Very, very valid. Yeah, and definitely I think Amon-Ra obviously just tough defense week 1, not the best game for the Lions, but he's going to have his weeks. He's super consistent. He's the number 1 target. And yeah, you don't have to be worried about Amon-Ra at all. So definitely agree with that. I actually have let's answer this Hartman question. Then I have
I like that one.
I have a question for you. How much would you move up BTJ if Mac Jones went back to the Jags?
101, easy money, lightweight, baby.
Yeah, how do you feel about the Jags after week 1? We talked about the running backs. We didn't talk about BTJ, Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence kind of not having the greatest game.
Sure.
But yeah,
people are hating on Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yes, they are. They are absolutely hating. I feel like mostly because BTJ didn't have a good game. But yeah, how are you feeling about them and any takeaways from week 1 or just kind of chalk it up to kind of a weird game week 1?
I mean, they won their game. Trevor Lawrence passed for 178 yards. Not very impressive. People said he didn't look good. ETN stole the show. It's going to change now a little bit. Like we said earlier, we talked more about Tank Bigsby, Tootin and ETN than we did about the pass catchers with Brian Thomas Jr., with Travis Hunter. I think it was a pretty decent showing for Travis Hunter. He should continue to get up to speed. He missed a little bit of time if you don't remember, he was out for a little bit, and so Brian Thomas, I'm not worried. I think, and if I'm looking now, I'm going to pull up what his exact stat was in that game, his stat line. So
I know he had a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, he saved it with the rushing touchdown, right? That's the only part that kind of saved his day. He had 7 targets, 1 reception for 11 yards. And the big comment that I saw coming out of it was I think there was some media directed at the Jaguars coaching and asking what's the deal with what happened there with the connection with Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas. And I think, what I also heard some feedback listening to others podcasts and recapping week 1 is it just seemed like Trevor Lawrence was struggling to target his top options like Brian Thomas with accurate and good passes. And it was when he was passing to guys like Brenton Strange or others that, he was more accurate, had some better balls. Small sample size. The targets are still there. I think it'll even out. I'm not really raising alarm bells yet, but people seem to be jumping ship from Trevor Lawrence pretty quickly, it seems.
Yeah, I mostly want to just chalk it up to like first game and just kind of weirdness. And I still think Trevor Lawrence can put it together. And those 2 receivers, like we saw Travis Hunter, he had a pretty solid game. But he's still going to be learning, still going to be coming together as the season goes on. Pair that with BTJ. I still think they're going to be a pretty solid offense. So definitely, I don't think you can really buy low on the 2 receivers, but if you can, definitely do it. I haven't lost faith in Trevor Lawrence yet, but I am a little bit biased. I'm definitely in on the Jaguars.
And I know Herbert has always been better, but kind of the dichotomy of Trevor Lawrence week 1 versus Justin Herbert week 1 is so like they were approaching the same ADP all summer, and Herbert was always a little bit ahead, but the weapons that T-Law is getting, Liam Cohen offense, all these things, the hype, but they're like leagues apart again all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I'm a hater. Adam has a question here. What's up, bud? Got swapping Colston Loveland for Harold Fannin a good move? I'm gonna throw this up to Bindles because I think in a redraft league, like
in redraft, I think it's fair. Like if you just need the tight end points, it's different in redraft because you just kind of have the wins early are still important and you still need to get to the playoffs. So I think it's fine. I mean, I do think Colston Loveland will be coming on, but I don't know when that's going to happen exactly. So I think Fannin definitely will give you like usable weeks right away, which is definitely valuable in redraft. So I think if your team needs it, if you just need points in your lineup at tight end, I definitely think it's a fair swap in redraft for sure.
It's a dangerous game with these young rookie players, especially at the tight end position where it can be highly variable and dependent on the targets they're getting. I will say after watching Caleb Williams last night, looks terrible. All of his fantasy production is going to be coming from his legs. He had some okay passes, but most of his passes were terrible. A lot of 3 and outs, missed connections on third downs, not looking good. Pretty bad passing from Caleb Williams. I have nothing to stand on to judge who's a good passer or not. Just what I saw, it didn't look good. I was trying to hope it could look good because a lot of people were bought into Caleb Williams, hoping that he can support all these skill position players, these guys we drafting so high. Colston Loveland, I'm pretty in on. Same thing with Luther Burden. At the same time, in these redraft formats, how long can you wait on the production to come? We just saw it with our own eyes from Harold Fannin in week 1. Could there be some volatility there? Adam's mentioning that he had George Kittle went out, which is a topic we brought up in the beginning of the show. A lot of people are going to be looking for tight end this week on the waiver wire because they had Bowers, who they're worried about, or they've got Kittle, who's now out, or even Evan Ingram, who's going to potentially miss some time, right? So you need, if you're going to go for Harold Fannin, and you need the tight end production right now, and you don't have anyone else on your bench that you feel good about, Loveland, we didn't see a whole lot in week 1. It could take a while for him to catch up to speed and be a target earner in this offense, but we think he can get there. But again, in the offseason during the summer, He had some injuries he was dealing with. He wasn't always getting reps in practice, so maybe he's not on page one. Komet is not a pushover. He's been good before. They trust him. So at the end of the day, be aggressive if you're going to go after Harold Fannin. Don't be afraid to lay down some fab or prioritize him in your waiver. I was talking about I started Travis Kelce, and I have no other tight ends, but I'm looking to add Harold Fannin or Juwan Johnson to my roster and consider starting one of them over Travis Kelce as soon as it doesn't hit. And Kelce barely paid off. He got a lucky touchdown. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So maybe I can ride this Kelce hype, and maybe the hate's gone too far. But if I start to see the floor falling out, I can easily switch to the upside of a Fannin, or maybe some of the security of the consolidated target in that Saints passing offense around Juwan Johnson, which it looks like it is. And we saw, I think it was Ray GQ had posted his Trinity score for a lot of players in the last 24 hours. And he put his metrics, his data puts Juwan Johnson in the elite tier of receivers, not just among tight ends, of all receivers.
Yeah, he looked good.
Highest target earning potential. You were saying?
No, I'm weirdly in on Juwan Johnson. I've kind of always been a Juwan Johnson guy, but I just think it's so hard to get routes and just targets at tight end. Like most of these guys, you're just hoping for a touchdown. Like Huames is saying Kelce should have had 2 touchdowns. He messed up a route. As bad as for the shoulder. But yeah, like anytime you can get a tight end, that's like in Njoku last year, when he was just getting the PPR scam. If you can get a PPR scam tight end, it's just so nice to be able to have that floor at tight end, which is like, it's so hard to find that. You're usually just hoping for a touchdown outside of the top few guys. So yeah, Juwan Johnson, all in on him. And I think Fannin, the usage was super encouraging as well. So yeah, definitely if you need a tight end, be willing to drop a good amount of fab on both of those guys.
Yeah. I think the things that Juwan Johnson, Harold Fannin have in common, they're not like true inline tight ends who are trying to get that pass catching upside. These are receiving tight ends.
Yeah.
These are guys who can play in the slot out wide, used in different ways. Juwan Johnson's used to be a wide receiver converted, right? And so the Bengals tight end situation was kind of confusing to me as a person who drafted 10% Mike Gesicki during the summer in best ball. But I think it'll get better. The Bengals had a bad week. Paul G is asking how much free agent auction bucks should he drop on Bill Krosky merit? Bill Krosky. I'd say unload. However many you have is not enough. So it's 10 team. Maybe it's a shallow bench. Maybe it's not a lot of starters, but can you see any other RB1s or top 15 wide receivers on the waiver wire? Maybe Quentin Johnston's there, but he's not going to be the top option on his team most likely. It's going to be Ladd McConkey most weeks, and there's also Keenan Allen there, something we were talking about kind of in the first hour. But, Bindles, if you have $100 and you've only spent, 1 or 2 or 3 so far, how much do you spend on Bill to make sure you get him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's dependent on, like you said, anyone else available. Like, if Bill's available, is Tootin available? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, but barring just some egregious guy still being there, which Bill even being there is pretty egregious, I say just unload the clip. Just put it all out there, and probably won't be too many guys throughout the season that'll give you more upside than Bill gives you in that Commanders offense. So yeah, just dump it.
Yeah, you get him now. You start him every game from here on out. What are you going to save your fab budget for? Someone getting week 8 and you start him for 3 games or 6 games. Maybe you're, different positions, as the season goes on and more people in the league spend their fab, there's always one guy who holds out and has 100 in week 12. Stupid. But maybe, as all of the teams spin down, they'll have less to offer. And so somebody might play spoiler and try to keep all their fab until the end of the season, and then they just scoop up whoever they want. But those players aren't going to be as valuable that late in the season. what are the odds you're going to spot start a guy you pick up on the waiver wire in week 13 or 14? Maybe you have to because of injury, but the replacement value is not going to be as strong compared to a guy you can pick up right now and start every week in your flex or RB2 spot for the rest of the season. So, I would say conservatively 51, 61 out of 100. But if you think this is competitive and people are going to go after him and the hype is larger than life, you have nothing to lose. Just unload, leave yourself a few for, if you have to pick up a QB or a bye week tight end or something like that. But even then, $0 bids still work.
We have a curveball here. He says Tootin is available and Quentin Johnston. So
see, but then I still think that even in those leagues, the drop off from Bill to Tootin is big enough that I want to grab Bill now and I can sneak in Tootin later at cheaper prices and then let someone overpay for Quentin. And then the week to week volatility of Quentin come back to bite that person. If you've got you're starting 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes, Quentin is more valuable. But if you're starting 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers and then 1 flex, Quentin is valuable, but he's losing value there because you're starting him over who, Chris Olave or, somebody else who
I'm not
did
really
better in week
interested in
1,
Quentin.
but probably won't do better consistently.
No, I agree with you. I think, I mean, it might change my strategy slightly. Maybe you don't, like you said, 50 to 60, something like that. And then maybe you can put in a 10 spot on Tootin or something and try to sneak him through. But definitely I would still be prioritizing Bill. I mean, he's better offense and he's kind of already in the I guess you could call it the ETN role kind of in that offense where Tootin is kind of hoping to come on later on. So definitely prioritize Bill. But if you can sneak in Tootin for a lower amount, like a 10, 15, something like that, and get both of them, I mean, that would be amazing if you have the roster space. But I'm not too interested in Quentin Johnston in redraft unless it's a super deep league with a lot of flexes. I just don't think it's going to be consistent week to week. So best ball, love it, but just redraft, it's you're never really going to know when to start them. It's going to be pretty hit or miss. So definitely,
but it is looking better than ever. But I would agree with it. It's volatility, but it's
volatility.
Small sample week 1. We saw what Quentin Johnston could do over the course of a season. He's the touchdown scorer. What if Quentin Johnston only scores 6 touchdowns this season and 2 of them were in week 1 and you didn't have him in that week? Now you're getting 4 more touchdowns over however many games. That's totally possible. I think the Vegas over under on his touchdowns before the season was probably 6, 7, 8 at the most. Yeah. So he's probably already accomplished a large amount of his touchdowns, or it's ceiling scenario, a new path forward because of new information and he's going to score 10, 12 touchdowns maybe, but that seems a little bit much. But like we said, Herbert is him, so maybe it could happen. Too Rich says, hey guys, would you trade JT for Brees in Dynasty? This is straight to Bindles.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Brees, obviously younger, 24 years old. We were talking about earlier about the Jets offense looking pretty solid. And then we have JT, who literally played every single snap in the first half for the Colts. Pretty insane usage. This is really, really, really tough. I think these guys, I would have them neck and neck in rankings. My gut tells me JT just because that usage, I think he had some small injury. So I monitor that and maybe just check over the next couple of days to see what comes out of that. I don't think it was anything serious. Otherwise we would have heard more about it. But I just think that workload, you do have to consider this year's production and what the points are going in your lineup, especially in season. I think JT might, with the pass catching from Daniel Jones, with just the usage he's getting, we saw him last year. He was a league winner at the end of the year last year. I think he could be in for a 20 plus point per game season, where as much as I love Brees, I don't really see that in his range of outcomes. He's still obviously a little bit younger, so maybe he'll hold value a little bit more, but I'm leaning JT for now. I think we were talking about the Colts and kind of their whole offense being undervalued. I just think JT is an absolute smash. It's just so hard to find true bell cow running backs in this day and age. So unless you're kind of like a rebuilder or someone like that, then I definitely prefer Brees. But any team where you're like competitive, I would just take JT personally. But that's some people are. I like Brees, but I don't see him with that ceiling this year, which definitely plays into dynasty value, especially in season. So
there you have it. That's the dynasty take from the Dynasty Man. Make sure, if you haven't joined, Bindles has a free Discord where we talk about these things all the time. Links in description. Go join the Discord. I'm in there. Bindles is in there. And dynasty trades, dynasty values, Bindles actually gives out. And this is super plus EV stuff. He has his dynasty tiers with assigned future round pick values. So, JT is, future first or two future first. You can find out if you go consult the tiers list, the dynasty rankings that Bindles has. He updates the sheets, consistently. And so you can look at how players have trended over time too. Who's picking up momentum, who's going the wrong direction, those kind of things. Free in the Discord. Make sure you join. Come say what up. Good place to be. If you're on Discord, check it out. And also shout out to Paul G with the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate it, my man. Ayo, big dog legend in the house. Thanks for being here. Always fun to talk it up with y'all. That's what it's all about. The good vibes, having fun in the Ballsy show, talking ball, whether it's dynasty, redraft, best ball, week matchups, get into battle royales. We're not really setting DFS lineups, but we know people that are. So it's all in the universe and we're excited about it. So we're just talking ball here on a Tuesday night, and you can find us talking ball pretty much every Tuesday night going forward during this season, ping-ponging back and forth between Bindles' channel here and my channel as well, the Fantasy Football Garage. So make sure you're subscribed here to Bindles' channel. Make sure you give me a subscribe as well on YouTube. You'll catch us live. I think next week on Tuesday, we're going to go live on my channel. Is that right, Bindles? That's the plan?
Yes, sir. Yep, I was going to say, link is down below. Make sure you guys are subbed to Candyman. He made a big push. He got over 500 subs. So congrats. True ball knower, and that because he won Best Ball Jeopardy. So don't slight Candyman's ball knowledge at any point, because he truly does know ball. So
random, but did you see the fantasy best ball ownership came out?
Yeah, I did. I didn't look super closely at it, but I was
so funny. Obviously I control F my name. I think I was on my phone, so I didn't actually control F. I just kind of scrolled through and looked, but I think I did control F because it was on my phone, but it wasn't the exact science. But I think I was drafted 21 times, which, I didn't expect anyone to draft me. It wasn't me. And I only 2 alternates, so 19 starts and 2 alternates. Pretty good numbers.
I think you're a good value. I'm not gonna lie.
Appreciate you. Yeah, last year went full in on the Nico Collins. The hamstring killed the advance rates. My 2 most drafted players last season was Nico Collins and Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy famously came on during the actual NFL playoffs and was a little bit of a weaker advanced player during the regular season. So, I remember my going into Best Ball Mania playoffs, my stance, my position was, if Xavier Worthy and Nico Collins are the guys you need to win Best Ball Mania in 2024, I'm loaded, because I had 9 of those teams with that combo. And the next highest, I think, was one person with 8. And then it was like 3 people or 5 people with 5 that made it to week 15. So like of my advanced teams, like almost half of them were Nico and Xavier. So I was ready, but it wasn't the combo you needed. So
hey, you only need one. You only need one. Get to the finals, and anything can happen. So
anything can happen. I've learned that over the years in best ball. It's like, I'm not going to be sweating until it's time to sweat. Because I even had 2024. I had my I woke up Sunday. It's the Open at it was this is Royal Portrush that year, I think it was, thinking back. But I wake up, it's Sunday, I'm in second for the Albatross in the golf PGA best ball, and then 5 minutes into the tee times kicking off, teeing off, I'm in first for $50,000 and I'm starting to sweat and I'm posting in the discords. Ooh, what are the win conditions? Who can beat me? But then, it's a long day and people come up from the shadows and nowhere and they lap you. So I ended up getting fifth in that. But like, you think until the last minute, anything can happen. So in week 1, there's 17 weeks. There's 4 legs. Weeks 1 to 14 is one of the 4 legs. We're 1/14th through a 4-leg process. So we're 1/48th through the best ball season. So anyone who's touting after week 1, yeah, there's some things that change the future and the outcomes and the directions. Like we were saying, what do you buy? What do you sell? Where's the news? What's the noise? What are you going to fade? What are you going to, what's the signal or not? But we're 1/48th into the best ball season. So there's a long way to go.
There's a very long way to go. Let's get to some questions here. We got some more in the chat. Shout out to everyone
let's rip through
watching. We got, do we trust Fields? I mean,
I do.
I think for him, for Fields himself, I definitely trust him.
Let's
just
go.
The rushing, the offense. Shout out to Paul G for the super chat. What else we got here? We got just traded Harvey in 2 seconds for Henry. Ooh, I don't know. I think I definitely lean the Harvey side there. I mean, yeah, because I think I value them pretty closely. Obviously, different kind of players. Like Henry is pretty much, you're riding him until the wheels fall off. He's going to give you a lot of points until he gets injured or gets out of the league. So I bought some Henry actually in the last couple of weeks on some teams where I just really needed some running back points. So I'm fine doing that. But at the expense of Harvey, who I view pretty similarly, I think is going to have a pretty strong rookie season. I would view them almost 1-for-1. So adding 2 seconds on top, not my favorite move. But I mean, you got points in your lineup, so at the end of the day, that is important. But little bit too much for me.
Bindles, Adam had a question going back. He says, I don't know if we addressed this yet. Am I crazy for putting a good amount of fab on JJ McCarthy? I have Lamar starting. Purdy's a backup. But because of the Kittle going out, I'm trying to grab him and make trades later. If it's single quarterback, I don't think you need to roster another quarterback if you have Lamar. I think go out and get running backs and wide receivers that you can flex later on. Is Dylan Sampson available? Is Bashal Tutin available? Those kind of guys. They're going to have way more value for you. And for me personally, I always have hard times getting the trades I want. I used to always be like, let me stash a QB who could be a top 12 QB at some point and try to trade him later if I don't need him. And then the trade never materializes. I end up dropping them. And, especially if it's not super flex, if it's single QB, it is so hard to get anyone to pay anything for quarterbacks when they're just like Geno Smith sitting on the waiver wire or like something like that, or Penix Jr. So I would just say prioritize flex spots or these breakout tight ends if you might need another tight end.
Yeah, and it's almost like how we say in best ball draft, like you're right. Like you drafted Lamar, you're going to be starting him every week except for his bye week. Like you don't need a contingency plan. Like there'll be someone available, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, someone will drop someone because they need a bench spot. Like you'll be able to pick someone up later and you can kind of plan around his bye week and whatnot. But just ride Lamar until the wheels fall off and don't worry about any other QBs there. So let's see what else. We got another one here from Logan. Shout out to you, Logan. We got to start between 3 different tight ends, Brenton Strange, Fannin, or Hawkinson this week.
Ooh, let's pull up those matchups.
Yep. So we got Jaguars versus Bengals. So Bengals pretty bad defense. I don't know. I'm not a huge Brenton Strange guy, but
I'm lukewarm on that one.
Yeah, I'm lukewarm on that one. Fannin, we said Browns versus Ravens. So could be a high scoring game. Might be a pretty fun one there. Some come from behind garbage time points from the Darkwing Duck. And then we got Hawkinson. They are playing. Who do we have here?
Yeah, why can't I remember that one?
Vikings versus Falcons.
That's right.
I mean, Falcons might be without some Might be without London. Might be
it's a
without
Sunday night
Moody.
game.
Yeah, so I guess we got some time. Yeah, I don't know. The Hawkinson usage wasn't super encouraging, but I mean, from a zoomed out perspective, like no Addison, it's just who's he's a Michigan State guy. I can't even remember his name. Who's the other receiver for the Vikings? I can't remember.
Naylor?
Off my head. Naylor. I barely know her. And Adam Thielen. So
You just set me up for that one. Was that just a setup?
No, it wasn't. I actually couldn't remember. But I don't know, man. It's tough for me to go against Fannin in this matchup. I'm going to be honest.
It's tough, but at the same time, are we out on Hawkinson that fast with Addison being out? Yes, Thielen's there. McCarthy's going to look better in week 2, we assume. Atlanta in week 1, didn't give up a ton of points to the Bucks, but
it might still be Hawk. I think my gut still tells me Hawk, but my slappy brain,
it's getting close to Fannin though. If we see something in week 2 that Fannin continues this outrageous usage and number of targets, it's going to become a lot closer. But I think for now, it's just Hawk, close second Fannin, big jump down to Strange for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that one. We got a miracle saying my first time using Fab dollars. I have Andrews. If I try for a tight end on waivers like Johnson, how much Fab should I bid? I wouldn't be super aggressive. I still think Andrews. We were kind of talking about it earlier on, so if you want to go back and watch that, but
I got a perfect answer.
Yeah, so go ahead.
In my league, I'm in a similar situation, but I don't have Andrews. I have Kelsey, but I'm still a little worried. I have $100 Fab budget. It's 10 teams, obviously single tight end. It's half point PPR, no tight end premium. I've got Juwan Johnson and Harold Fannin both on my waivers. I was saying earlier, I have a $15 bid right now on Juwan Johnson and a $9 bid on Fannin. I might actually up the Fannin one and make him closer to equal. And I don't know if 15 is the right amount, but I like to spend more money up front in the season than wait and hold it for later. I like to just get it out there, spend it, get those guys now. So I would say somewhere around 10 to 15% on Johnson would be aggressive. You'll probably get him. Same thing for Fannin, hopefully, unless there's just completely blind seals playing in your league with you, slapping it up.
Yeah, I don't think the general consensus is as high on Fannin as we are, and the
they're about to find out.
They're about to find out.
I don't even have enough Fannin in best ball. I mean, obviously, I was aware of him the whole time, but I thought it was too good to be true. I thought this was another, rookie year Drake May doesn't play until the end of the season, and then Fannin comes out week 1, bam. So I'm wrong there, but wish I had more.
Even a blind seal finds a nut sometimes. We got hell yeah, boys. You said it's a 1 QB and Superflex.
So, yeah, so Superflex league, right?
Superflex.
Then
okay, well let's go back to it because I feel like
that was regarding for now. He has Lamar and then which QB. So he had Lamar and Purdy. And then he's saying should he get a good amount of fab on JJ McCarthy? Well, who else? Like because JJ McCarthy I like, but at the same time, it's in a tier with like guys like Penix who might be available. Daniel Jones might be available.
Yeah, if you can get a guy for cheaper. Yeah. I mean, it depends too. Like if Kittle's going in IR, you have an open spot. I wouldn't be crazy aggressive, but obviously if you don't have another starting quarterback, then you just need to put someone in there. But it also depends on who else you have. Like you said, Daniel Jones, even an Aaron Rodgers.
If you think you can get JJ for cheap, I mean, how long do you need him? How long is Purdy going to be out? At the same time, there's unsexy options like Aaron Rodgers. You could probably get him super cheap if he's not owned, unless people are like, this is old school and people still have the name association. They like Aaron Rodgers. They're going to think he's worth more than JJ McCarthy. At the current moment, he's scoring more points, but obviously the trajectory is like, we're looking for some rushing upside with JJ McCarthy and a better team, better offense. Although I will say 2 years removed from the injury, Aaron Rodgers has a little bit of magic left for Superflex.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a ton. I still wouldn't put a ton on JJ. Maybe like 10, 15, something around there. Like, I think he's fine. Like, he looked, he still scored pretty well. The rushing helps, and I think he'll come on strong as he just gets more experience. But it's not a super crazy injury for Purdy, so it's not like you want to just unload the bag. So, let's see. We got Rich saying Genty Harvey would have been dope in 2026. I have Kamara and Connor also. Yeah, see, like, yeah, that's why it's tough for me, because like you already have like Henry. Yeah, he's probably going to score more than those guys, but if you have Kamara and Connor, you already have two older guys that can kind of give you those points this year, and then you have Harvey who's holding a little bit more value. So that's where I lean Harvey, but you already made the deal, so you just roll with it, get those points in your lineup, and feel good about it. So Adam says, I got Fab on Dylan Sampson, Trey Benson, and Fannin Jr. Yeah, those are all definitely waiver pickups. Pretty strong ones as well. So definitely. Yeah, those are great pickups. Make sure bid aggressively on all those guys. Whoever you need more, whether you need running back or whether you need tight end, will tell you where to go. But definitely be aggressive on those guys for sure.
Huhames is not wrong, but also strange. And then Logan says, thanks for that. Start Hawk. Nice. Yeah, Kriot says that I missed the golden cope. No, Kriot, we're not coping yet.
What is it like watching him with that sub 4.3 engine in Matthew Golden? Can you describe what that is like?
Hey. Oh, we.
Ocean Weisner's already in the backfield. Play action.
No, we're Golden Cope. What are you talking about? It was one game. He's a rookie. Not every rookie is going to come out like Darkwing Duck, Harold Fannin Jr. and catch 8 balls. No, I think he looked really good. I was watching. Shout out to Jacob Gibbs on Twitter. He's one of the best follows out there, putting out great data, breaking down film. But yeah, I mean, he was getting open. Just they kind of beat up on the Lions. There was a positive game script, so didn't get that many opportunities. It's a little, he didn't run as many routes, but he's a rookie, first week. Still think he's super talented, going to be a good offense. There'll be games where they pass more, where they're pushed a little bit more.
Who was it that caught the touchdown when Golden was wide open in the end zone? Who caught that one? I think Gibbs had, like you said, Jacob Gibbs had that tweet out.
It was Kraft. Did
Kraft score, or was it like right in front of the end zone?
Yeah, it was Kraft was like coming over the middle, and Golden was going like on towards the corner of the end zone. And it was a great contested catch.
It was Kraft. He did score on that one. Okay.
Great contested catch by Kraft, but
so not a ton of passing volume. We'll see how that evolves. Kind of an interesting matchup, but it's guys like or as we were saying, for the rookies, it's just week 1, bro. And for the rookies and players you don't like, maybe this is the future. This is it. This is the future. And then for the veterans you don't like Javonte Williams who go off, you're just like, well, we'll see how long that lasts. Same thing for Quentin Johnson. We'll see how long that lasts. But I will say I put in a fab bid for Quentin Johnson. I kind of want him as my wide receiver 4 on my home league managed league.
Yeah, we got more fan and hype in here. We're always about that. Yeah, and they only threw the ball 22 times or something. Golden's going to be fine. Like, he's the most talented. Reed being injured factors into that. Like, if Reed was not, then that changes things a little bit. But I love Reed, as you guys know, but like the foot injury is very scary. Like, I'm worried about that a lot.
I will say it's a Thursday night matchup. We were talking about this earlier in the first hour with the Packers and the Commanders. But if Golden doesn't show some shine, some light, something that gives us a bunch of hope to cope with against the Commanders in this primetime spot, I'll come back out next week with a big fat double lipper, bottom upper lipper with some Copenhagen. But I think we'll see a spark. We'll see something Thursday night. Although like I said earlier, it's going to be potentially a low scoring matchup. Probably take the under as it is.
Yep. Yeah, that's nice. You have Fan and
Oh,
and
Billy
redraft.
is playing 40 chess. He's already ahead of the game.
You're very ahead of the game. Yeah, the Lions, man, that was rough. I think it was just, the Packers are good. Packers are very good. It's gonna be tough this year in the NFC North.
Bindles, we did it. We hit 2 full hours. You said you only go for 45 or an hour. We hit 2 full hours. We did it. It was so much fun. This is the Ballsy breakdown for week 2. We did a quick recap of week 1, our favorite outcomes, what's been happening. We've been talking all summer. We did dozens of Ballsy shows during the summer, and we're just getting started, getting into the in-season content. So we're going to be doing this every Tuesday night around 10 p.m. Eastern time, ping-ponging back and forth between Bindles' channel here, my channel as well, where we'll be next week. And usually we'll go for 45 to an hour, aka 2 hours. But we're excited, and it's a lot we had to go through for week 1 and week 2 going forward. Any other final thoughts before we kick it back over to Methodology's burning dumpster fire take of the week? I think that's how we should end it for sure.
Do you want to do a quick Ballsy take of the week, or do you have to get out of here?
No, let's do it.
Let's just rip quick off the cuff. All right, Candyman, you want me to start, or you want me to go first?
I got one. Let's go.
Okay.
I think the Detroit Lions, you can't hold them down very long. I think at home in week 2 against the Bears defense, not terrible, actually. They put up a fight against the Vikings for a little bit, but at home, the Lions getting to play in front of their home crowd, they're going to put up some numbers. We saw Isaac Tesla score, on 3 snaps. He scored a touchdown. My Ballsy take of the week is the Lions offense is humming. They're destroying the Bears in week 2. They're putting up some numbers in the main slate at noon. Everyone you love on the Lions is going to score a touchdown. So just whoever you like, Gibbs, he's going to score. Amon-Ra, he's going to score. Laporta, he's going to score. Montgomery might as well score. J-Mo is going to score. And Tesla's going to score. They're just going to go off. And everyone you like on the Lions is going to score a touchdown. So don't sit any Lions. And even Tesla, he's going to keep that streak alive. A touchdown in every single NFL game he's ever played. Let's go.
Hell yeah. Mine is, I think the Jaguars are playing the Bengals defense this week. Absolutely pitiful Bengals defense. I think BTJ has a huge bounce back week 2. All the doubts about him and what is going on with him and Trevor Lawrence are gone, at least for 1 week. I think he's going to have, 30, 35-point week, absolute slate winning performance. And I think Travis Hunter could have a pretty good game as well. But I think BTJ kind of had that big spike week here in week 2. All right, guys. Well, yeah, make sure you guys go sub to Candyman. Link is down below. We'll be on his channel next week. And, we'll have some guests on these shows as well.
Oh, yeah.
Took a break last week, but you guys be sure to tune in. We'll have some big names hopping on with us, helping us figure out as the season goes, who to pick up, dynasty risers, fallers, and then looking at the matchups and where we want to attack in DFS and, underdog dailies as well. So hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you next time.